So when it comes to internal energy cultivation, sexual energy cultivation, one of the most important things to understand and implement is how to regulate your Jing, your physical essence, to build your vitality, to build your sexual energy and your sexual potency. And all of this relates to the lower Dantian and the process of forming the lower Dantian. So I'm gonna break down these things in this video. I'm gonna go pretty deep into the subject. This isn't gonna be a 2-minute TikTok friendly video. Sometimes I get comments, people complaining that I've talked too much and that I could have explained things in 2 minutes. But here's the thing. This is the problem with the modern world, is the TikTok brain. People are addicted to information. They want to get as much information as they can in the shortest amount of time period so they can go to the next video and do it again. And actually, this is just a form of entertainment. It's getting dopamine hits in your brain. To be a cultivator, you have to have an attention span. You have to be able to focus on one thing for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And this is an incredibly rare quality in the modern world. And so this is gonna be a longer form video because this is an in-depth subject. It requires depth to really understand what I'm gonna be presenting here. So with that, let's dive in. I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit subscribe to support the channel and get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description. So one of the most important concepts more so than a concept, it's a reality. One of the most important focal points in internal energy training, which is both for the sexual practices and energy cultivation in general, is the lower Dantian. The lower Dantian is a field of energy that is created in the lower body. Now we're born with it, but we tend to disperse it in our teenage years. Usually like by our late childhood, early teenage years, the field's gone. And so the majority of people in the world do not have a Dantian. They just have guts and intestines and physical things in the lower body. There's no Dantian field. It's something that must be built or rebuilt if it's no longer there. This also corresponds very strongly to your Jing, your physical essence. So in Chinese medicine and in Taoist cosmology, Jing is it's an expression of energy. It's a form of life force, we could say. And there's different applications. When people say Jing, there's the Jing Qi Shen model, which are basically different vibrations of the life force. The simplified model, it's this one thing that exists in different vibratory states. So we took the metaphor of using water for an example. Water exists as a solid, ice, a liquid water, or a vapor, a mist. And it's the same force, but it's in these different states. And that's the idea of Jing, Qi, and Shen, is that our energy, it vibrates at different levels and it takes different forms. And the concept of Jing here really applies to our physical essence, which is like the reserves our body has to create itself, to keep reproducing cellularly, to keep generating energy, so that the physicality of the body stays in existence. And this really relates in Chinese medicine to the kidneys. Now, the kidneys aren't just the actual physical kidneys in the lower back. That's part of the system, but it is really all of the fluid systems of the body. It corresponds to the water element. So the actual kidneys and adrenals, the bladder, the sexual organs, the reproductive fluids, the bone marrow, the blood, all of these are considered part of the kidney system. And energetically, the kidney, the water element, relates to the lower back and kind of the perineum, the legs as well. So basically the lower body, lower back, which is why one of the typical things, if you are kidney deficient, if you're deficient in kidney energy, you typically experience lower back pain and discomfort and weak knees, weak legs. And so you can think of your Jing as your physical essence, as your bank account in a certain sense, for your body's ability to keep creating itself and to be functioning efficiently, to keep creating hormones, keep creating blood, all the things you need, because your body is continuing to reproduce itself moment to moment. Your cells are reproducing, they're generating in a moment by moment thing. And when you have a healthy level of Jing, this process keeps running smoothly. And coming back to this metaphor as a bank account, the more you spend your Jing, the less you have. And we spend our Jing, a very common way is through excessive ejaculation for men. For women, it's excessive menstruation, stress, poor lifestyle, too much work, not enough rest, too much mental activity, over emotionality. All these things disperse our life force and they eat up our Jing. And once it's gone, it's gone. There's a debate within internal cultivators and Chinese medicine practitioners where if Jing can actually be regenerated or if it can only be used more efficiently, if the loss can only be minimized and mitigated in that manner. I don't have the answer to this, but you can definitely strengthen your Jing. You can re-enhance your efficiency of your body's ability to run, the efficiency of your cells' ability to generate energy, and things like that. And this, again, comes down to your kidney energy and your vitality. Now, I'm going to talk about the Dantian and how this is one of the most important things you can do for keeping your Jing consolidated and building your sexual energy. But before that, I want to talk a little bit more about kidney energy, because in Chinese medicine, there's kidney yin and there's kidney yang. And I think a good metaphor for this is talking about this Jing kind of being the fuel and sort of the battery for your body's ability to keep living, basically, and keep functioning efficiently. The kidney yin, if we use the metaphor of like wood to create a fire, like a fire burning and the fuel to create the fire, to keep it burning, the kidney yin would be the wood. It's your potential, the potential you have for energy, the potential fuel that you have to fuel the fire that's, we could say, keeping the body going. And especially this relates to the fluids, the ability of your body to create sperm, to create blood. So when you're deficient in yin, kidney yin, then you often become infertile. Kidney yang is the fire that's burning that wood. And so this is often corresponding to your hormonal levels, your ability to have healthy testosterone levels, your ability to have an erection, sexual desire, libido. So it's the fire that's burning and mobilizing that Jing, bringing it into action. And there must be a balance between these two things. And this is a problem that I'm talking about this because it's important to understand this concept, because when we talk about libido building, what a lot of people are focused on, the main focus is to just stimulate the kidney yang, which is to stimulate that fire, to stimulate the libido. But here's the problem you run into. Using the analogy of herbal supplements or even like testosterone replacement therapy, what most sexual tonics are doing, I'll take Tomcat Ali for an example, a powerful libido booster, but it comes with a cost. And here's the thing, it strengthens your kidney yang energy, so it fuels that fire. But you run into issues with this because when there's also a kidney yin deficiency, which is extremely common in the modern world, what you're basically doing is speeding up the depletion of your already depleted resources. So it's like you're down to a few logs of wood. If you throw more gasoline on the fire, then it's going to dry up your reserves quicker. So like for a period of time, the fire is burning brighter. So you experience higher libido. Oh yeah, my sex drive's back. And then it tapers off and you feel even more depleted than before. This is why I don't always recommend stimulating herbal supplements like Tomcat. There's many others. I could, make a whole list here. So the most efficient model in this regard is going to be also to rebuild your kidney yin, to consolidate your Jing, make the usage of your Jing more efficient, or rebuild it if that's actually possible. Basically strengthen your kidney yin energy so that you have more wood to burn. And this brings the question of how do we rebuild our kidney yin, the Jing? Because once again, it's good to have that healthy fire burning, to keep your libido fueled, to keep your hormones going, but you also want to have an equal emphasis on making sure you have enough Jing to fuel that sexual libido, to fuel that desire, so you don't dry it up by overstimulating it. And this, of course, is an extremely important focal point within the sexual arts, because if you want to have erections, if you want to have sex and sexual pleasure, then you have to be able to keep this Jing at a healthy level. Obviously, over-ejaculating is a quick way to dry up your Jing. And so what it really requires to build up your Jing, of course, there's herbs and foods that will support your kidney yin, but what I personally have found the most efficient in rebuilding, because my kidneys they were fucked, man. They were depleted. I did too much jerking off to porn, too much drinking when I was younger, too much caffeine and energy drinks. Like, I trashed my body in my teenage years because no one really told me. Of course, it was like, I guess there was some truth in if you masturbate, you'll go blind. But I would have needed a bit more context as a teenager to see any real problem with my sexual appetite. But I will say that I was successful in rebuilding a lot of the vitality that I recklessly spent in my teenage years and early 20s. So it can be done, my friends. So the best way that I've found to rebuild this kidney yin, to basically rebuild vitality, this storage, your essence, the potential for vitality is what the kidney yin is a consolidation of your mind and your energy. You're like, well, what the hell does that mean? This is where we get into the focal point of the Dantian. The Dantian, eventually it becomes a field, like a magnetic field in the lower belly. There's several Dantian in the body, but when we talk about the lower Dantian, this is really, again, our vitality center. When we build the Dantian, we start to establish this magnetic field. And this is very different than just like focusing on a point, okay, send some energy there, now it's warm, okay, that's it. There's more to it than that. Here's the problem and the challenge in the Dantian work is that the external world is very stimulating. It's very seductive. There's all these flashing colors and lights, and there's all these social media notifications that are just pulling your attention out into the external world. And that's where your energy is going. And it's not to say you can't do those things, but when you look at how much energy are you bringing within yourself versus how much you're putting out into the world, because the classical saying, yi dao, qi dao, where the mind goes, the qi flows. Most people don't spend much time holding their mind within their body. And that is basically the secret of vitality, is you bring your awareness back within. But it's even more in depth than just like, okay, just think down to your lower Dantian, imagine a glowing light there, you're good to go. There's meditative training in this. There is the ability to absorb the mind into the body. It's not just like imagine a light down here and you're thinking from your head. You have to truly anchor your consciousness, settle your consciousness low in the body, in the lower Dantian, and absorb it and hold it within this space. And by doing that for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, this isn't a quick process. It's not for the faint of heart or the quick to give up. You do that for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it creates this, this magnetic field. It's dense, it's thick, you can feel it. And once it's established, it literally is a center of gravity, obviously both physically, low in the body, but energetically, it starts to pull your energy into it. Because most people, their energy is constantly pulled up into the head, up into the upper body. The adrenals are overstimulated, your nervous system's a wreck, and you're just spending energy 24/7. And of course, this is a linear path of aging and depletion over time. But it doesn't have to be the case. You can build energy and vitality as you get older. So because the lower Dantian is low in the body, as I mentioned, the region of energetically the kidneys and the water element in Taoist practice is the lower body. You have now a magnet that you pull energy into and build and build. And now you start to develop this reservoir of qi, this reservoir of Jing, and it strengthens your kidney energy significantly because this settling down into the body, settling down into the basin of your body, like water settling, strengthens the water element, strengthens the kidney energy. And this is the number one way to build your sexual energy and vitality, your kidney energy. Like, yeah, you can take herbs, you can do certain exercises, and these things will support externally, but the internal support is the most effective thing. And when you have that, when you build the field of the Dantian, it requires your mind to be settled. It requires your nervous system to balance and regulate. And all this is part of the training throughout the process. And then once you're there, you have a magnet holding vitality, containing it. You have a container for it, because another problem with a lot of practices is that there's no container for the energy. Like if you're doing a lot of breath work, pranayama, all this stuff, yoga, whatever, it's great. It's fantastic. It has a lot of benefits. But what you don't get is a way to really store and harness that energy. You do your breath work in the morning, you do your yoga practice, you feel great, you get charged up. But by the end of the day, that energy is dispersed. With the Dantian, you are collecting the energy that you're generating. And it's like adding layer by layer to a pearl, which is why the pearl terminology is used in, if you read the Taoist alchemical classics, they're always talking about pearls. I was in China recently, there's pearls everywhere. There's dragons holding pearls, they're all over the place. This is what is referencing, is this energy of the Dantian, the Dan, which is the elixir that grows within the Tian, the field. So every day you do your Dantian work, it adds another layer of vitality, another layer of potential energy that's building. So you start to refill your empty bucket that's been depleted by a little too much Pornhub, a little too much drinking and smoking weed and things like that. So really it's about stillness, it's about quietness, it's about this meditative practice where you settle back into the body. Your energy now is going inward and collecting, densifying, and then you have much more vitality, and you can still spend some energy. Like people often get into this paranoia of like, oh, I can never ever ejaculate. Again, they go from one extreme to the other, and they don't develop the skills of how to work with that intensified energy they're building up. And it's not that you can never have fun in your life, you know what I mean? But it's just that once you understand how you're wasting your energy and you start to kind of consolidate things, rebuild this field of vitality, then you're rebuilding your bank account. And yeah, you can spend $100, $1,000 here and there because you got $1 million in the bank account, baby. But as long as you're reinvesting back in, then you can spend here and there. You know what I mean? So it's like you can get out of like extremes and obsessionisms. And once you truly feel what it's like to have vitality, because most people lost it. Nowadays, most people have lost a lot of their vitality by their mid-20s. And it's getting worse and worse because there's so much stimulation in the external world, just pulling your energy out of you. So again, just in my experience, this work of building the Dantian field is 100 times more effective than trying to take the right supplements or do the right external exercises. blah, 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 blah. Kind of like biohacking in a nutshell. Not to say there's anything wrong with biohacking, but people tend to develop this very lazy way of doing things where it's like, okay, well, what pills can I take so that I can continue living with my bad habits and like be healthy? It's the wrong mindset in my opinion. For me, it's like, okay, what's the root of my energetic leaks and how do I correct that? How do I spend some time truly building vitality? And this is especially relevant right now as I'm filming this. It's late November. We're going into the winter season, and this is the time where the energy of the earth, it's being pulled back within. The trees pull their resources from the leaves. They drop the leaves. They pull their nutrition down into the roots, down low, to consolidate, to store and rebuild so that they can grow back out in the spring. And this is an essential cycle to follow, to have points in your life where you go within, where you let go of your external commitments a little bit, settle within to store and rebuild your vitality. Without that internal winter, so to speak, you're just going to age and deplete at an accelerated level. I found this to be true personally. So winter is an amazing time to settle in and do this Dantian work. And this, again, is incredible for your sexual vitality, because to have sexual vitality, you have to have abundant kidney energy. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely up and down. It's like you feel aroused one day, then the rest of the week you have no libido, weak erections, all these things, which are normal things that all men are experiencing in the modern world. Everyone is very depleted right now. I'm just hearing from more and more people than ever just how their libido is gone. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that the world is more stimulating, it's more stressful than ever. And this is the most important time in history for humans to like turn the goddamn screen off and bring your energy within yourself. Just settle down, settle it down, rebuild it. Oh yeah, baby. And having the strong potential energy in your Dantian, you have more to put into your sexual practice, more to cultivate as sexual arousal, transmuted throughout the body. So without the strong reservoir of kidney energy, the practice become more inefficient. You're gonna struggle more with them. So this is an important limb of sexual kung fu and just internal energy training and health in general. So I highly recommend you cultivate your Dantian, son. And one other thing that's really important here, because it's very relevant to the kidney energy, because your Jing, it likes to move. The Jing is its potential. It's the potential for things. And that potential, it wants to be manifest. It wants to be fulfilled, the potential fulfilled and done. But like this has been hijacked against humans in the modern world because we're bombarded with things that stimulate our desires. Sexually is probably the number one thing. We're bombarded with sexual imagery. And here's the thing, when you act on impulses, when you act on every impulse you have, you spend your vitality, you spend your kidney energy, and then it's gone. So one of the most important, I think one of the most important things for a man in this world is to practice not acting on every desire you have. Notice what it feels like to want to jump on Pornhub and rub one out, and don't do it. And that builds your vitality, that builds your kidney energy, your Jing. That desires, it's potential for something, but you don't act on it and you harness that potential, you capture it. And if you're acting on every desire you have, you are leaking energy like crazy, and you become a man who's kind of pathetic, who has no self-control, who has no vitality. Like you can see it. You can see it in people who have no self-control because they're dried up, they're over-emotional, they don't have control on anything. I'm not trying to shame anyone. It's just, I think this is a very important lesson for men of the modern world is if you want to get places in your life, if you want to be a strong leader for yourself and have fulfilling relationships, you have to have some self-control. You can't just cave into every desire you have. And this is an essential thing as well to build your Jing. So you understand the theory, but the most important thing is that you have a practice to do this. Now, I made a Dantian breathing video, which is a good kind of stepping stone into the world of Dantian work, but to really go into the deepest levels of it, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of qualities of focus and concentration to be able to really get this field built and activated in the lower Dantian. And that's why I created my Dantian development program, which is all the things you need to get going and really go deep into your Dantian work. And once again, because this is an important time for this, I'm offering a Black Friday special on this program. So check that out. The link's in the description of this video. And if you're watching this in the future, you can still check that link out and sign up for that program. And just to reiterate, Dantian work was the biggest game changer for regulating my nervous system, finding a deep calmness and groundedness, and really building my sexual and just general vitality. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions about the Dantian work in general, and give this video a like. Have a great day, my friend.